Today in Corona, California, we're looking at a major healthcare contract termination that's led to local layoffs. It's a big one with real ripple effects across families and services. Hi, I'm Leah.
And I'm Garrett. Welcome to Laid Back Local, the news of the day with Leah and Garrett in Corona, California.
First up, Ample Joy has laid off 100 employees here in Corona after Inland Empire Health Plan ended its contract. The company is Ample Joy ABA Consulting Services, and they provide behavioral therapy for people with autism and developmental disabilities. The layoffs happened in February 2026 and were reported publicly in May 2026. Here's what we know. Inland Empire Health Plan, or IEHP, is the public health plan that serves over 1.5 million residents in Riverside and San Bernardino counties. Think of IEHP as a big organizer and payer for healthcare for many low-income families. It coordinates care through programs like Medicaid, which is the government health insurance for people with limited income. In late 2025, IEHP moved to terminate its contract with Ample Joy. Ample Joy says the broader cuts to Medicaid under something called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act played a major role in this. That law, signed in 2025, led to the largest Medicaid funding reduction in the program's 60-year history. When a payer's budget tightens, providers often feel it first. Fewer covered hours for therapy, stricter approvals, or reimbursement rates that no longer cover costs. For families here who rely on applied behavior analysis, or ABA, a structured therapy approach often used to build communication and daily living skills, the concern is access and continuity. If a clinic loses a major contract, therapists may be let go, openings shrink, and waitlists grow. Even if you eventually find another provider, you might face gaps in care that can set back progress. The layoffs at Ample Joy were significant for our city. 100 jobs is a lot in one shot, and those are trained positions tightly connected to patient outcomes. The tricky part is that this isn't isolated. When Medicaid funds drop, the effects ripple outward. A contract changes here, a staffing model shifts there, and suddenly a family is driving farther or getting fewer sessions approved. Timeline check, because it matters. The termination process kicked off late last year. The layoffs took effect in February 2026, and the notice surfaced publicly in May 2026. That delay between action and notice isn't unusual when you're dealing with formal filings and confirmations, but it can make the news feel like it's coming out of nowhere. The core insight here is simple. Even if the system is complicated, when a major payer tightens its budget, providers with thinner margins have less room to keep teams intact. And for local families, this becomes more than policy talk. It's therapy hours, it's routines, it's progress on goals that really matter at home.
Yeah, that hits different. If the One Big Beautiful Bill Act represents the biggest Medicaid cut in decades, it kind of explains how a single contract decision can knock over a lot of dominoes. I keep picturing the practical side. A parent who finally got a schedule that worked suddenly having to reapply, drive farther, or wait longer. And for the workforce, not gonna lie, losing 100 trained staff in one go is a serious skills drain. Why now, though? It's tough to square how quickly these changes land in real households. I guess the takeaway is, when a large payer shifts course, the community feels it right away. All right, let's switch it up. Next up, Corona Norco Unified School District is weighing whether to drop the 7th and 8th grade programs at Home Gardens Academy and Cesar Chavez Academy because of enrollment declines. The district hasn't finalized anything yet. Parents have been voicing concerns, and there's a follow-up town hall set for May 2026 at Home Gardens to keep the discussion going. Let me paint the picture. Enrollment has been trending down across the district. State data shows roughly a 2% drop since the 2024 to 25 school year, and nearly 8% since 2020. Fewer students means less funding, since public schools generally receive money per pupil. When that happens, districts start looking at consolidation, which is just a practical term for combining programs or schools to stretch resources. In this case, removing the 7th and 8th grade programs at these two academies could shift those students to other middle schools that already have the infrastructure, things like specialized teachers and labs, to serve them. Here's where it gets interesting. Home Gardens Academy has seen enrollment fall about 4.6% since 2020. But Cesar Chavez Academy had a rebound. After a drop in 2021-22, it actually climbed about 13%. That creates a little tension in the narrative. The district-wide trend is down, but one of the schools under review is moving up. So you can see why parents are pressing for clarity on the criteria. Are decisions being driven by current numbers, multi-year averages, program costs, or facility limits? At the town hall in April 2026 at Chavez Academy, those questions really bubbled up. The district's message has been that discussions are continuing and nothing's set in stone. The human side. Parents worry about community identity, continuity with teachers, and transportation if students are reassigned. Moving 7th and 8th graders is more than a bus route change. It's social networks, after-school routines, and the specific supports kids have in place. If consolidation happens, the district will need a tight transition plan, ideally with clear timelines, dedicated counselors, and info sessions so families aren't left guessing. Bottom line, the numbers push in one direction, but the lived experience keeps the conversation nuanced.
Totally get where you're coming from. I'm feeling for the parents because middle school years carry a lot of weight socially and academically. And that 13% climb at Chavez Academy jumps out to me. Why pull a middle school program there if enrollment's rebounding? It's a fair question. This is where community input matters. Folks closest to the classrooms can flag what's working and what could be merged without losing the heartbeat of the school. I'd love to see the district share more on how they're measuring long-term stability versus short-term dips. Okay, let's move on. Next up, election season. The Press Enterprise, which is our major regional newspaper here in the Inland Empire, has put out its voter guide ahead of the June 2026 primary election. A primary, quick refresher, is the first-round election where parties narrow down their candidates, and in some local races, it can even decide a winner if someone clears the required threshold. A voter guide is basically your homework sheet made easy. It gathers candidate bios, positions, and ballot measure summaries in one place, so you can compare side by side. What I appreciate about a solid guide is the structure. Candidates listed by office, short statements in plain language, and references that let you dig deeper if you want the full policy read. For ballot measures, those are proposed laws or funding plans that voters approve or reject. The guide usually breaks out what a yes vote does, what a no vote does, and who's supporting each side. It sounds simple, but that clarity can cut through the noise. This kind of tool is known to boost awareness and, lower the barrier to participation. If you've got 5 minutes between errands, you can still get the gist, then return later to go deeper on the big-ticket items. The Inland Empire is vast and diverse, and a single page that maps out who's running and what's on the ballot helps ensure folks from Corona to Redlands and beyond aren't flying blind into the primary. It's not about telling anyone how to vote. It's about laying out the slate so your choice is clearer, faster, and more confident. June 2026 is close, and this is one of those low-stress ways to get prepped without doom-scrolling or chasing rumors.
Yeah, that checks out. Informed voting is the name of the game. A guide turns a wall of names and measures into something you can actually digest. I'm down for anything that makes it easier to compare platforms. Side-by-side reads help you spot the real differences fast. It's like having the syllabus before the exam. You still have to make the call, but at least you know exactly what you're looking at. Here we go. Next one. Inland Empire Breweries just brought home 12 medals from the Brewers' Cup of California, spread across 9 local breweries. The Brewers' Cup is a statewide competition that's a big deal for craft beer. Think of it as a quality seal that can put a brewery on the map for new customers. This is a reputation win for the region. Medals don't just mean bragging rights, they can shift weekend plans. People do mini tours, they bring out-of-town friends, they buy the medal-winning styles to see what the fuss is about. The results were released in May 2026, And it adds to the story that the Inland Empire's relatively young craft beer scene is now punching above its weight. When judges, industry folks with trained palates, recognize lagers, IPAs, stouts, or sours from our backyard, it signals quality that can stand next to the usual heavy-hitter regions. And the business angle matters. Awards help with distribution conversations, collaborations, and special releases that draw lines at the tap room. If you're a small operation, that bump can mean hiring another brewer, expanding hours, or finally greenlighting that canning line. It's a virtuous cycle. Prestige brings customers, customers bring revenue, revenue funds innovation. Love a good rabbit hole, right?
That's a story worth toasting. It's pretty wild how fast the local scene has grown. A few years back, folks weren't exactly planning destination weekends around Inland Empire beer, and now medals are stacking up. That kind of recognition can spill over into food trucks, live music, and nearby shops getting more foot traffic. It's a rising tide moment for small businesses, and I'm here for it. Responsibly, of course. Last up, Whole Foods is set to anchor a new retail center in North Redlands called the Marketplace. Regency Centers, a national developer that specializes in grocery-anchored shopping centers, is behind the project. We're talking about an 8-acre site with additional shops and parking, aiming to open in 2028. There's also a separate Whole Foods planned in Eastvale in 2027, which hints at a broader push into the Inland Empire. Quick definition check. An anchor store is the big-name tenant that draws steady customer traffic, which then supports the smaller shops around it. Whole Foods, owned by Amazon, is exactly that kind of magnet. Pair that with housing growth in North Redlands, and you get a feedback loop where more residents attract more retail, and more retail solidifies the area as a convenient place to live. The surprising twist is that Whole Foods hasn't officially confirmed the Redlands site yet, even though the developer has laid out the plan. So it's promising, but we'll watch for the formal stamp. If this timeline holds, we're looking at construction phases over the next couple of years, then tenant build-outs as opening approaches. For Redlands, the potential upside is new jobs and a stronger retail mix. For nearby cities, it means an additional hub that could spread out weekend crowds and offer more options without driving into the major metro areas. The bigger narrative is the Inland Empire stepping into a new tier of retail and grocery offerings, which, honestly, signals confidence in the local customer base.
Yeah, I could get behind that idea. Anchor a center with a high-traffic grocer, and the whole site levels up. I'm excited about the economic energy it could bring. At the same time, with no official confirmation from Whole Foods yet, timelines can flex. Still, between Eastvale in 2027 and this Redlands plan for 2028, the arc is clear. The IE's on the short list for premium retail plays.
Thanks for tuning in to Laid Back Local, the news of the day, with Leah and Garrett in Corona, California. Have a great day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.